Hello? Okay. Hi, everyone! Yay! Okay. It's almost end of the day, but I hope you are enjoying Connect, as I'm enjoying it too. Okay, just to give you, what do you call this? Before I start talking about SwiftUI, I just want to introduce myself in a bit as an iOS developer. So, I started actually programming way back 2011. And my first app is an iOS app, and it was actually built using Objective-C, interface builder, storyboards, and it was still iOS 5. So if you're wondering what Objective-C is, that's a programming language of iOS before. For interface builder and storyboards, this is like a GUI wherein you can drop in different elements and then connect it to code in order for it to work. So you don't have to programmatically code it one by one. And of course, iOS 5, that is what the software we have for our iPhone. So 3 years after, a new language was born, and that was Swift. So Apple decided to create Swift because they want to create a modern, fast, and at the same time, safe type of language. And Objective-C was already 30 years old, and it basically didn't change much. Then fast forward today, Swift is now stable, and it's now version 5. So it took a while for it to become stable. Every release, it breaks. But now you can actually use it confidently. And today, this year, SwiftUI was now introduced in WWDC. And of course, it's iOS 13 coming this September. So I'll explain later why this is important, but one thing for sure is as time passed by, we have so many devices. Before it was just an iPhone. Then you added an iPad, an Apple Watch, an Apple TV. All of those devices, you have to code for it, you have to design for it, and you have to learn different frameworks for each and every one. Aside from learning each and every framework, you need to think about this. You need to think about accessibility, localization, size classes, dynamic type, and so forth and so on. This is necessary so that everyone can actually use your app. Oh, thank you. Everyone can actually use your app, right? If somebody has challenges with a very small font, all they have to do is, change the font size in the dynamic type. So it means that you code once and you don't think about it anymore. But the thing here is that beforehand, you have to basically add this directly to your code. So there's no instant feature wherein you type in a label, automatically it has all of this. So a simple user interface control, such a button, a label, a toggle, becomes complicated, right? You have to know all of this. So that's why I'm guessing they created SwiftUI. So that's the reason why they basically created the SwiftUI. So what is SwiftUI anyway? In short, it's actually a framework that gives us the ability to build user interfaces across all Apple devices using Swift. As I mentioned before, you have an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, Apple Watch, Apple TV. Each of them has their own framework. iPhone, iPad goes with UIKit. The Mac goes with an AppKit. Apple Watch, WatchKit. So think about it. Just one button, and then you have to learn every different type of framework. But with SwiftUI, you can write one code and then copy it and paste it on different platforms. Or later on, maybe they magically can, just click a button, which they're trying to propose right now. Once you build an iOS app, it can turn to a Mac app. However, if something is new, right, something changes. There's a new approach coming in. What kind of approach am I talking about? It's actually the SwiftUI programming style. Before, it was imperative. Before, when we are all iOS developers, we actually coded in an imperative programming style, but now it's switched to a declarative style. So let me expound on it more. what is imperative versus declarative? In imperative style of coding, you have to instruct it step by step. You have to inform every piece of code, such as like adding a subview and then making sure that it's placed in the right place and so forth and so on. So each and every step, you have to instruct your code. But for declarative style, all you have to do is state what you want to achieve. Example, I want a button with this text, that's it. No need to state that, hey, I want to make sure to add this view, right? Basically, SwiftUI knows it. To get more context about it, example would be like if we're traveling to Connect Asia. How many of here are first-time travelers to Singapore? Yeah. How many here is just like locals already? Have lived here or have been traveling back and forth, right? Yeah. Okay. So if you think about it, visitors are, if you actually give an instruction to a visitor that they have to visit the Lifelong Center, right? Lifelong Institute, you have to also instruct them on how to use the bus or the train, or maybe how to get a taxi. So all of those steps, like getting a card, tapping the card here, this is the location. But if you're a local, if I just tell you that the venue is at the Lifelong Institute, all you have to do is, you know the location, you just know at the back of your head how the MRT works, how the taxi works, and so on. So in short, for visitors, you have to instruct them step by step. If you didn't instruct them in that manner, there's a chance that it might fail, right? They don't get it, or they get lost, or they miss the train. For the locals, just tell them the venue is here. Then that's it. They can go there. You don't even have to tell them you need to go to ride this bus, ride this MRT. So that's the imperative style, and that's a declarative style. So just to give you an even more clear overview on what the declarative syntax is, this was an example at WWDC, an avocado toast. Because they're saying that in the US, millennials love avocado toast, but I don't know about us Asians. Are we into this? Yes? Oh, I see. Okay yan. So, if you look here, if you look here, this looks like a vertical stack, right? And you wanted a text, you wanted a toggle with a text, you wanted another toggle with a text, you wanted a stepper, and then other text, and then you wanted a button with a text. This is the structure that you wanted. This looks basically the same. So, in a declarative syntax, it would now look this way. All you have to do is wrap it in a vertical stack. You place the text here, and then the value of the text, some modifiers. Same thing with the toggle, and then you place the text inside, the stepper, and then you place the text inside, and then the button and text inside. That's basically it. It seems like you're reading what's being designed here. And if you place it in your code, it would now look like this. That's as simple as that. That's how easy it is to code using SwiftUI. So, as my title here, it says Exploring SwiftUI. Now it's time to explore. So I'm going to show you how it works in actual code. First thing, make sure that you actually have Xcode 11 beta installed. Or once Xcode 11 is released, then you can play around with it. Now you create a new project. Maybe a single view app for first-timers, iOS who want to try iOS development. It's easy as choosing a single view app. Write the product name, let's say Connect Asia. And then make sure here at the user interface, you choose SwiftUI versus the storyboard. Then click on Next. Great. And now here, you'll notice the code is here. And then if you click on the side, Patience. Okay, here. Ta-da! You can actually see your code on the other side. This is actually what you call a preview, or what they call a canvas. So this is what's new in Xcode 11. If you run this using Xcode 10, you can basically code using SwiftUI, but you cannot see the canvas. You cannot experience the whole thing. Now here, you'll notice one thing. For iOS developers here, you'll notice a new structure in the code. On top of here, there's an app delegate and there's a scene delegate. The scene delegate basically is the location of your Windows scene or your root view controller. And there's a new UI hosting controller here, which plays in your content view. So you will actually hear more about hosting controllers. When you say hosting controllers, this is kind of like hosting the whole content of your SwiftUI. So if you think about it, this is your SwiftUI, which is a content view. You now place it here. It's being placed in a host and then being placed in the view controller. So it basically carries the whole content. Now, if you want to use, like, for example, for a WatchKit, it will become like WK hosting controller, and so forth, so on. It's as simple as that. But for the content view, it will become just SwiftUI. So the magic now happens here. If you now type here on this side, let's say, hi, ta-da, suddenly it changed on the other side, right? Right? But if you're used to iOS development, you would probably say, okay, I probably used that using storyboards. So what's the difference? Looks the same, right? The different thing is, if you code your UI controls using the storyboard or the sieve, and then you then decide to, oh, I want to do it programmatically, you basically have to rewrite everything. But with SwiftUI, everything is in SwiftUI code. Everything is here. So let's get some more experiments. If you look at it, you say, okay, you have like a var body here. It wants some type of view. They say it's declarative, so I'll add one more text in. And then, ta-da, error, yes. Why is it an error? Because this is actually a computed property. And it only needs to return one type of view. In order for you to get two more views inside, all you have to do is put it in a container. So you command, click, and then you put them in a, like, say, let's a vertical stack. Okay. So here. So the vertical stack, it means as what it is, two stacked together in a vertical way. And you can see what's written then is basically what's being displayed here. Now, another thing here is that this vertical stack is actually a special type of container. It's actually a view builder. So a view builder, what's needed are many types of container. It can host until up to 10 containers inside. So if you wanted more, you can just put it in a group so that you can get more containers in. So what's amazing even here is that if I, let's say, put an image inside, so this probably would set an error. Why? Because there are basically two types of views here. So all you have to do is put it in another container, such as an H stack. An H stack is a horizontal stack. And you have something like this. So let's say if I change this to Michi, then I say exploring Swift is my title. It doesn't look the way you wanted it, right? It's in the center. So how do I change that? How do I make maybe Michi Ang bigger so that's much more visible and much more clearer? All you have to do is either you go in this side, you can actually choose the canvas and click command click. And then you see the pop-up there. You click on show UI inspector. And then you'll see that you have different types of modifiers. Modifiers are different from properties. Properties basically gives you those features and stuff, but modifiers modify the whole view. So here, maybe I want it to be like a headline. No, it's the same size, sorry. It's just darker. Let me try again. Maybe doing like a title. See, it's a bit bigger. Now, if you want, let's say, okay, I don't want it everything in center. All I have to do is maybe click on the VStack. Command click on the VStack. Show SweepUI Inspector. And then click on this. And now, basically, is aligned in this side. And the right, left. Okay. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I forgot this one. Left, right? My right, your left. Oh, I know. My right, your left? Okay. Okay, left side. So, it's as simple as that, right? And aside from that is, if you then decide, okay, I wanted to maybe create a table view or a list. So they call it list now. So all I wanted to do is put everything here. And you now have a whole table view in the list that you wanted. So before you have delegates, data source, and stuff. Now you don't have to think about it. Now, okay. Now let's add some more fun. Like maybe we can put some content inside. So I got some speakers from our speakers today, and we just have to drop it here on our assets folder. And then this one, I created already a model for us, a test data. So it's here. Yeah. Now, next thing that we need to do is, we just have to place it inside, right? Here. So speakers is a group of speakers. Okay, we need to create an array of speakers, and then we can, mali. Sorry. Okay. Oh! Sorry, I forgot. Wait. Okay, done. Sorry. Okay. And then from there, we actually pass it here, like in the list. Here, we can just change the name to anything you like. It's just a thing. And then from here, you can now get the values on the other side. Say speaker.name. And then if you run this, something would look wrong. Something would happen. It's not what you wanted. See? It's because, as you can see below here, here's the one that's actually showing the data. This is the preview. It's basically written in Swift code. And all you have to do is actually pass in the data here. Sorry. Okay. Speaker testing. Okay. Now if you try again. Okay, sorry, thank you. There it is. So it's simple as that. Next, here, you can now pass in the speaker's title. Talk. And then for the image, all you have to do is pass in the speaker, that image name. So as you can see, the image, it doesn't auto-fit, right? Until you give some modifiers for it. So one of them is actually resizable, and then you can add some more. So here, I'll explain what this is. So in order for you to resize an image, you have to type in resizable. And then you have a frame. This is basically the frame size. You can make it bigger or smaller the way you wanted it. Say, and same thing with aspect ratio, fit or fill, depending. Of course, you want it fit, so it won't. You can see the picture inside. And at the same time, if you want to add some more corner radius, you just type in corner radius. And from here, you basically created a simple list view with an image and with what do you call this? With some text, basically designed in an easy way. So initially, I click on this one. This is kind of like the play button. If you click on this, you can now scroll as if that it's an actual app. Now, to add in some more, let's say, okay, this thing looks so simple, but it's not that useful. Maybe I can add in like some navigation so I can go and drill in some content. So all I have to do is type in navigation view and put everybody in. And then from here, I just have to say navigation bar title and say, add in another view, which is a text, connect Asia speakers. As you can see, as I type, it basically updates on its own. So here, basically this title, and then you have all your speakers inside. But of course, you wanted more. You wanted to maybe add in some content, like maybe add more content and so forth and so on. But before that, seems like our code is getting bigger and bigger, right? So there's another way that we should do, which is we can actually place this, we can actually extract the view into a subview, so making it smaller. So all you have to do is highlight, and then click on extract subview, like maybe give it a name, like speaker cell. See, it's here now. And then you need to actually pass in the data. Oh, sorry. Here. And that's it. Oh. Speaker. Oh. Oh, wait. Okay. Ah, no, that's not what you wanted. Sorry. Yeah, wait. Wait for what? Okay, my mistake. I should have placed the list on top. Sorry, let me extract. Okay. Okay, I did it differently. So I've basically placed this other in a reverse way. Sorry, should be here. That should do the trick. Okay, so basically I have to just place it here, and this is the one that I have to extract. Okay. Okay. Okay, it's here, and then add in the speaker. And then pass it here. Okay. Here, as you can see, what happens was I made a mistake extracting the list. Instead, I should extract what's in the body because I place it in the other way around. So I basically extracted this cell. So from here, when I extracted it, of course, I need to pass in the data. So I created a variable here, place it here, and then I'm able to actually pass in the data from the model. So Apple actually advises us to actually make our view smaller because the smaller it is, the better the code, that's one. And I know if you think about it, why are you creating a lot of views? Wouldn't that be like memory issue or what? They're saying that they actually thought of that and they were able to fix it to make it more efficient and you don't have to think about the memory thing. So the smaller the code in SwiftUI, the better. So that's what they're advising. So as simple as this, you have something like this. Now this time around, let's say, okay, you wanted to, let's say, pass in the navigation. Okay. So here, so let's say I wanted to pass in the navigation here. Sorry. Okay. Okay. That's why there's having an error. I'm sorry. We need to actually create a speaker detail file. So first, we have, I have a ready speaker details file. That's why my mistake. But let's just remove this and just set it to something simple. Okay. Let's say speaker name. Okay. So it's something like this. And if you notice, once I add the navigation link, it automatically gets that arrow button. And when you click on it, it basically shows the speaker's name. So a while ago, I placed actually a speaker details file. So I haven't, I move it in another folder. But what happens here is, if you create a speaker detail file, automatically you can just design it the way you want it and place it here. Sorry. Let me find the file first. So here. here. I'll just move it here so we can have a copy. And then from there, you can now change this and then pass in another file or another view that contains the speaker's detail. So as you can see, the speaker's detail here is another Swift view. So I basically just extracted it, placed it in a different file, and then from here, I then pass it into the navigation link, wherein the destination is the speaker details and the speaker. So it's basically as simple as that. Now, one of the cool features that I love about Swift UI is that you can actually test different type of environment. As I've mentioned before you have to add in accessibility, a dark mode, and something. But with Swift UI, you can actually test it in the preview. So for example, this one. If you want to see what your app looks like in a very, very large text, it basically looks this way. So you don't have to test it in different manner. You can just create different type of previews. Or if you want it, maybe showing like in a dark mode. If your client decided to switch it in dark mode, basically it's being shown this way. So there's a lot of things that you can do with Swift UI. My apology for making some mistakes. But what you see is that as long as the way when you code, it's as simple as like you're sharing or reading a text. Like the way you wanted it to be shown in the screen is what's being shown in the text. And what are the advantages if you use this over different cross-platform tools? Of course, it's native. It means that it's way better, way faster, and you can get all the native features of Apple. You have a built-in design tool, just what was being shown a while ago, which was the canvas. You already have an automatic support for dynamic type, dark mode, localization, and accessibility. So it means that you don't have to code it one by one anymore. Apple did that for you. Of course, if you have advantages, you have disadvantages. So this is just a warning. So since it's new, it actually breaks every time you update your Xcode to a new beta. So there are some changes in the language, in the framework on how they designed it. So every time you update, something breaks. Next is compatibility issues. I think this is the biggest issue ever because it's only compatible with iOS 13, tvOS, like the tvOS 13 plus, macOS 10.15, Catalyst 13, watchOS 6. It means that any devices below iOS 12, they cannot basically use Swift UI. And another thing is that you need Xcode 11, you need to use Swift 5, and you need to use macOS Catalina. So as you can see, if you have your Xcode right now, you then decide to try it, what happens is you don't see the canvas. But you can still create code using Swift UI. You just don't see the preview right away. And if you want to learn more, there are different resources here. Number one is Apple provided a very good tutorial about Swift UI. You have documentation, of course, using Swift UI. And then you have like Hacking with Swift. Paul Hudson created very good materials right after WWDC. And Juanpe kind of like collated all the Swift UI talks. Swift UI resources or materials in GitHub. So basically that's it. Sorry, any questions? Do you have any questions? Sorry, yeah.
Are there questions?
Yes.
Wow, no questions? Okay.
Okay na. Go, go. No worries. It's okay if there's no question. Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah.
Hi. Thanks for the great presentation.
Thank you.
So my question is, suppose we have an ongoing project, right?
Yeah.
So is it possible to include a view or something, a screen directly like this and existing code? Because all the companies has huge code base.
Yes.
They have code in Objective-C, Swift and all. So how practical is it to implement it?
If you want to implement it, I don't think it's practical now. I'm just being honest. Because as I've mentioned, everything breaks when they release something. But you can actually integrate it directly to your code if you want, using the hosting controller that I mentioned before. So basically, all you have to do is create a Swift UI file, and then from there, you just put it inside a hosting controller or a hosting view. And then from there, you can integrate it. But again, you have to now to state it if their device is iOS 13, then you basically then use this versus the lower devices. So I think that's the only way if you just want to try it out. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Any more questions? Don't have to be shy. No?
Okay.
Or any experience you want to share?
Oh yeah, any experience you want to share? Yeah. Or anything that you like to share about, what do you think about this? Like, I know some of you have tried Swift UI, right? How many of you have tried Swift UI? Yeah. So if you think about it, how many of you have developed like Swift, in Swift code, Swift language? Okay. How do you feel about it now, seeing this? My apology for my mistake for a while. How do you feel about it? Like, yeah. Here, there. Daphne, yeah. As I've read, it actually is, what do you call this? If you put it in a view, right? For example, Swift UI is like one view, right? And then if you put that view in your existing code, basically it respects your constraint. So think about it like a separate view. Yeah.
Can I relate it to the present day UI stack views? Like we have horizontal and vertical stack views, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's for the it's somewhat like that, but they kind of like simplify it even more. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else would like to give their feedback or comment about it?
What's the Android version?
Android version. Okay. It's okay. Actually, we're joking around with this because recently Android started doing something like the storyboard, and then because for a long time they're using the XML, right? But suddenly Apple started wanting to like basically code everything, the UI and stuff, which was what Android was doing for a long time. But suddenly Android decided to create somewhat like a storyboard. So it's kind of like a joke wherein like, okay, Apple is now leaving the storyboard world, and now you're like doing it, something like that. But there's no, I don't think there's something about it. But some people would say it looks like Flutter, right? But there's no what do you call this? Direct correlation with an Android-like environment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Michi.
Thank you.
We would like to present you with